Kabane was an ugly, broken, poor, cursed child with the eternal blessing to erase the blood of humanity, and was abandoned to die on the day he was born. But after his adoptive mother enslaved him in the fields, the animals mysteriously in the village, so she hired a killer to end his useless life. When he arrived, Aitaru asked him to make Kabane, forcing him to take a bath for the first time in years. Inside the room, Aitaru introduced himself as a detective of mysterious phenomena. If he had noticed anything strange about the village recently. Realizing that he was referring to the corpses of the animals, Kabane had to get rid of the bodies and said that he always found their organs chewed by a monster. It happened every morning after the new moon, so Kabane told him that it would happen again in 5 days. Over time, they worked together in the fields, but Kabane's useless cousin was angry that he finally had a friend for the first time in his life. As the days went by, Kabane and Aitaru moved around the village and spent the nights talking about the lives they never had. But one day, when Aitaru noticed his necklace, Kabane told him the only thing his parents left him before they disappeared. So, when examining the talisman, Aitaru realized that it was a stone his parents did not abandon him. They left him with an object made by the gods. When he asked if he wanted to see his parents again, that he could meet them, Kabane wondered if he really wanted to meet them. On the night of the new moon, Kabane was waiting for Aitaru, the disgusting boy, outside and started yelling at him for stealing his chance to go to Tokyo. But when he began to remind him that his parents abandoned him and that he was more than a nuisance, Kabane said that he was not abandoned, irritating Shiro. However, when Shiro took off his necklace, Kabane punched him away. But his body awakened the demonic powers, making him thirsty for blood. And while Shiro was running away, Kabane managed to recover his necklace, returning to his human form. When Aitaru arrived, Kabane told him that he was a monster, but was under control, realizing that there were demons lurking in the shadows and that they slept with humans to have demonic children. While Aitaru explained that Kabane was one of these Rainios, revealed that his body had no blood and was capable of immortality. Admitting that he was not human either, Aitaru summoned a weapon out of nowhere and told him that his vital stone repressed his thirst for blood. For this reason, he was sure that Kabane did not kill the animals, and said that the true monster was still loose. At the same time, Shiro ran through the forest, but when he tried to hide in a cellar, 2 ghouls attacked him. Before they could devour his face, Aitaru killed one of them, but contained the other. Aitaru said that the only way to stop him was by cutting his head. With a twist, Kabane broke his neck and cut his head, but when they noticed a bite on his body, they found another ghoul devouring the cattle. Before Aitaru shot, he almost crushed him, but Kabane's attack allowed him to shoot. So, when he attacked Kabane hitting a tree, Aitaru fired several shots to regenerate, but as soon as Kabane stuck his fist in his mouth, when they started coming back, Kabane revealed that he could stay in the village, afraid of being blamed for all the incidents. But at that moment, Aitaru pointed the gun at him, confessing that he was hired to kill him. When he revealed that his aunt always knew that he was a demon, Aitaru decided to ask for the second time if he wanted to meet his parents. After arriving home, Utaro told the ugly witch that he took the culprit, offering to get rid of Kabane's body. But after leaving the village, Kabane came back to life, wondering he was not dead, but Utaro reminded the idiot that he was immortal. So, after they arrived in Tokyo, Aitaru took him to the office, explaining that it was also his house, and told him to change clothes. Minutes later, when 2 ugly children arrived, they saw Kabane's pathetic face and wondered who the hell he was. When he introduced himself, Aitaru said that the children were Shiki and Akira, the team of demon hunters, but said to rethink his useless life before making a decision. Wanting to mark his territory, Shiki asked how old he was, but when said he was 13, the idiot demanded that he respect him as his superior. After he left, Akira apologized for his rudeness, but when Kabane was looking at her, she was wondering what the problem was. The next day, when Itaru took them on their first mission, they arrived at where he handed over his card to the rescuers, revealing that he was the exterminator. As they recognized him as a specialist, a police officer decided to let him in. A man said that children could not enter. He replied that they were also specialists. They found another group of police officers. After explaining the situation, they noticed 2 children crying. However, when Itaru decided to take a look at the children to see the situation. When they did, Akira found small insects devouring human bodies. The vision scared him. Itaru revealed that they were called sanchichi. They were usually harmless animals that ate the skin while a human was sleeping. Itaru revealed that something must have attracted them into the room. Once he managed to take them out, he was sure that the insects would return to his nest, but he was rescue the victims. With one of the police officers starting to lose his cool, thinking that they were dead, but one of the children began to say that their mother was alive. Wanting to try, Shiki began to say that he could, and explained that he would use his silk. So, by throwing silk through the room, he managed to form a spider web. As the insects got stuck in it, they began to eat it, forcing Shiki to give up. Kobani thought he would handle it and offered to come in. Raitaro agreed. He told him to remove the item in the center of the swarm. As soon as Kobani entered the room, the insects attacked him, but as had no blood, they could not inject a paralyzing agent into his body. In addition, he was not afraid. When he picked up the object, all the insects disappeared. But when he saw them crying, Kobani wondered what a family was. When they were about to leave, he decided to ask Raitaro if he could meet his parents after agreeing to work for him. So, when Raitaro said yes, he said he would charge a fee for his payment as his own commission. Excited about his stay, Akira said it would be good to work with him. Mother was an Iraqi office, which Shiki decided to reveal that and said that this was the reason why he was able to throw spider webs alive. Shiki didn't care a bit about who abandoned him. After everyone went to sleep, Raitaro told the superintendent they adopted a fascinating boy and that he had a life stone with him. So, when he revealed that he would investigate, he told her that Kobani could be a threat or their only hope. The next day, after asking Shiki to take him to the superintendent, the youngest member, Shiki said he couldn't stand the woman. However, when Kobani asked who she was, Raitaro revealed name that was Inari, but Raitaro decided to give her an amulet of luck. Minutes later, walking around the city, Raitaro noticed the people. Akira tried to pull him to a coffee shop. Shiki shouted for them to hurry. After they entered the police station, a policeman began to say that the superintendent was too busy to see a bunch of miserable children like them, and even when Shiki explained that they had a commitment to her, the man still didn't, said that no one would ever set up a meeting with that face of a bastard. At that moment, a girl arrived and asking which one of them was Kobani, asked him to follow her. Her name was Kon. But when Shiki tried to come along, she told him to move away and that no one wanted a loser like him around. So, while Kobani was following her, Shiki started to get irritated. At a meeting room, Kon pushed Kobani inside. A red-haired woman welcomed him, revealing to be the superintendent of the Metropolitan Police, and asked him to sit down. She was waiting for him. When she asked to see her stone of life, Kobani decided to show her. Even so, she wanted more and asked to see her up close. While examining her, she told him that it was a rare item. When explaining that the kimono absorbed mental, physical, emotional, and other energies produced by humans, she said that they lived from them and revealed that she was on a different side of the Raitaro coin. However, to help humans, they had agreed to become temporary partners. But Inari told him that the situation now was different since he had appeared with the Stone of Life, because with this Stone of Life, they would not need to feed on humans, and Kon cut his head off with the plans fulfilled. Inari ordered to pick up the head and discard the body, although 2 policemen appeared to do the dirty work. However, when Inari tried to pick up the bag, she discovered it was very heavy, so Kon offered to carry it. Enthusiastic about this, Inari called her a good girl, but her words made Inari cry. That she could mass-produce the Stone of Life and was convinced that this would be the end of all their problems. Then she told Kan that she was leaving to investigate the object. When she was about to leave, she remembered Shiki and Akira, and told Kan to eliminate both. At the same time, Shiki was getting agitated at thinking that something must have gone wrong, but when Kabane arrived in front of them, Akira decided to ask what was in the suitcase. When he explained that he should give it to Inari later, Akira noticed that he was strange. When Shiki asked if he was attracted by the ugly hat girl, his words made her ruin her own disguise. So, when she decided to reveal her truth, she told them that she would kill them. At that moment, she jumped on a handrail and began to shoot flames from her tail. However, when Shiki realized that she could light a fire, he began to wonder if his brain was in the rear. But she told him that everything and everyone belonged to Inari, thinking that the police were under her illusion. Shiki thought Inari was the greatest scum on earth, but Kan decided to intensify his attacks. With their despair growing, Shiki managed to protect them. But when Kan began to say that there was no way to survive, Shiki took her case. However, when they opened it, they found Komi's head, and Akira passed out. At the same time, Kan, devastated by losing case and not being called a good girl anymore, turned into a fox out of anger. However, she discovered that they had escaped and began to look for them, but Shiki climbed the stairs. When Komi thanked Shiki for saving him, he asked him to throw him towards Kan, saying he could knock her down. Although Shiki thought it was a crazy idea, he realized that Komi could do it. So when Kan attacked him, he threw Komi's head, allowing him to bite her flesh. At that moment, Shiki realized that the fires had gone out. While Komi was regenerating his body, he decided to give him his jacket. After they left the station, they found Yotaro waiting, but when he told them that things went as he expected, revealed that he would have saved them if they couldn't get out. Meanwhile, Inari left in a taxi, but while the caretaker loved the stone of imagining how much money she would make with it, she turned into a Buddha. At the same time, Yotaro started calling, saying that she owed him one for betraying him. Komi vomited the true stone of life. The false stone of life was the amulet of luck that Yotaro gave him because he hoped Inari would try to steal it. Meanwhile, Kan was wounded in the neck but still determined to deliver Komi's head. That night, while Yotaro and the kids were going to the office, he showed Komi their sign and explained that the light attracted Kemono and also humans empowered by this Kemono. Was one of the ways to get jobs, and he revealed that Inari had really done it. At that moment, they realized that Kan had found while them. She was still obsessed with getting Komi's head, she passed out. At the office, she started eating pizza slices. But when she explained that she needed to finish her mission, she was a good girl. Yotaro prevented her from realizing that this ungrateful vanity bad was news. Shiki suggested that they kill her. But Yotaro had already realized that she was blindly loyal to Inari and told her that she had bad manners for being on the tables. When the girl decided to apologize, Yotaro told her to clean up the mess, thinking that he would control her out of fear of Inari. But when a man entered the office, Yotaro realized that they had a client. In a short time, the client was drunk. But when Komi asked himself why half of the office was a bar, Shiki explained that it was a relic of Yotaro's past. Apparently, before welcoming them, Yotaro had a business partner, so Shiki explained that the bar was the partner's passion. Yotaro kept him, even with the departure of his partner. Shiki warned Komi to never talk about it with Yotaro. When the useless man revealed that there was a girl he liked, he said he didn't know anything about her, but he wanted to know everything. When he told them that he felt love for her, Komi asked Yotaro if learning about love would help him understand his parents, and if he would find love by supporting the loser. So, with Yotaro wanting him to find the answer for himself, he said he would leave the case with him if he was up to it, and asked Shiki and Akira to support him. At the same time, he told Kon that he would give Komi's head as a reward if she helped at work. But when Shiki asked if he was sleeping with his brain off, Yotaro told him to calm down, while he decided to explain to the loser that they were in charge of the case. Them children, sure it wouldn't work. But when he finally agreed, he revealed that his name was Iruno. He said to meet him at the east exit of Shinjuku Station tomorrow night. But seeing a rat, he caught him immediately and revealed his bag full of rats. He said he wanted to give his passion as a gift, but Yotaro revealed that she was capable of feline possession, which allowed her to become an attractive and seductive person. The next night, while they waited for her to leave, Iruno revealed the photo and said her name was Mal. So, they saw a two-tailed cat. And Shiki, thinking that only a cat would charm a rat, thought it was her. So, after following her to a nook, Komi asked the cat if it was Mal. That they came from Yotaro's office, so she asked what they wanted from her. Straight to the point, Komi explained that his client fell with her and wanted to know everything about her. But when she turned into a human, she told the idiot that she already had a place for him. At that moment, 3 ugly cats appeared. So, Mal revealed that they were former customers. Asked why the idiot hadn't turned into a cat if her seduction had already hit him. Komi told her that Iruno was really in love with her. But while she laughed at the loser, Kon grabbed her from behind. When he took her to Iruno, she asked him to expose his to reveal his face as a rat. Iruno showed him the gift he brought and began to say that she was the first ray of light he had in his useless life. Because, since he was born, everyone had ignored his ugly face as a rat. He asked her to turn him into a cat and said he wanted to live for her forever. But his words left her amazed. Hours later, after Komi and the children returned to the office, Yotaro asked Kon to close his eyes, and using an orange, he created a fake head for her to carry. But Shiki wondered if she would end up discovering that it was an illusion. However, the next day, after Yotaro told children that Iruno and Mal had become a couple, he showed them a photo and said they were living together. But just thinking about it, Shiki almost threw up. When Yotaro decided to reveal that a new job had emerged, he explained that construction workers were having strange deaths in the river that runs under Shibuya, and said they should investigate the cause. A few hours later, Komi arrived at the river when Akira found him with a life jacket. So as not to get dirty, he slept before going far. When they began to advance deeper into the sewer, a giant frog captured Akira. But when Komi shot a metal bar, he managed to catch him. Before he could attack again, a dog bit him, shooting him back into the water. When Akira recognized him as Yotaro's pet, they found a nylon bag stuck to him, with a letter and a bottle of Yotaro's blood. Upon reading the letter, they discovered that the monster was a frog demon, one of the many who became aberrant after eating people and lost their mind. As a result, they needed to be eliminated. Discovered that they could be attracted to blood. With Komi ready for the challenge, he instructed Akira to pour the blood into the river. In an instant, several frogs jumped out of the water. As Komi began to fight them, with the dog saving Akira's skin, he began to tremble with fear. Just as Komi managed to save him again, Akira began to wonder why he was so weak. When he remembered that his brother once told him to accept being a weak loser, he was determined to change. And when he awakened his innate powers of ice, freezing everything around him, he realized that even Komi was trapped in the ice. Komi said he was amazing for defeating the monsters, and Akira was excited with the compliment. A few days later, while Komi was cleaning, he remembered that Yatara warned him to never open the door at the end of the corridor. But while he was wondering how to move the boxes, a hand pulled him inside. Later that day, when they realized that he was missing, Shiki explained that they found his mop in the corridor. But when Yutaro heard those words, he began to run towards the room. When they found Komi, Yatara saw his worst fear come true. But a man told Komi to serve him water and food. The man was called Mihai, and when he said that Komi was a submissive and obedient slave, Akira wondered if he was there all the time. Mihai said yes, revealed to be a vampire, and said he provided TI for Yatara's office. When he told Komi that he was hiring him to be his salesman, he explained that his job would always be to stay by his side, open and close water bottles. But Komi said it would be the greatest honor of his life. When Yatara asked the children to leave, he began to explain that Mihai was an old acquaintance of his, and that he had physical abilities and knowledge about humans. In addition, he mastered everything that related to professional level, and was already tired of this world, until he became addicted to Japanese online games. Yatara continued to say that it was better to play. That Mihai could be a real problem when he was idle. But admitting that he was responsible for protecting all their data, he warned them to stay away from his room. However, the next day, Komi was serving him water again. But when Shiki warned Mihai not to enslave Komi, Mihai challenged them to an arm wrestle, saying that he would set them free if they won. As soon as Shiki accepted, he lost all attempts. And even when Komi tried, he lost as soon as he started. That night, while Komi was on the street, he wondered how he could get stronger, but Kon fell from a tree. However, Kon told him that it didn't matter since she revealed that Inari had expelled her and even found a replacement for her. Komi was just curious to test his own strength and challenged her to a fight. So, while they were attacking, with Kon throwing on the ground and delivering a series of punches, Komi managed to get her away. At that moment, the girl began to cry. When she called herself bad for having lost, Komi decided to hold her hand. At the office, Mihai had left her room when he revealed that Komi broke his wrist. While fighting with an iron arm, he said it would take a week for him to heal. So, that night, he told the children that Terra wanted them to do a mission, and Shiki was excited. 3 years ago, there were incidents in an electronics company where 16 people died. But Mihai thought something strange was happening as he stopped drastically. Their mission was to obtain information about the mystery of how the deaths ceased. And Mihai told the children that Aitara trusted them. But Aitara tried to leave a locked room. While Shiki infiltrated the company, Mihai's electric car started to follow him. While he explained his functions, he told Shiki that he would be his partner. When Shiki noticed a light on, he found dozens of workers inside the room. But when one of them ran out, saying that his partner, an ugly man, appeared in front of him. His name was Kaga. The manager pretended to worry about the overloaded man. She decided to get Shiki followed him. He found a facial, a mosquito sucking his brain until he fainted. When he woke up, he had his mind washed again and started to go back to work. When Komi suggested they attack, Shiki told him they had no chance. So, when he suggested they retreat until they discussed a plan with Aitara, Komi agreed. However, Mihai was disappointed that they were very cautious. And since he thought Shiki's rationality was boring, he started to hit his car on the wall, causing a noise that attracted the attention of the girl. Deciding to check, one of them found the car in the hallway, but as she thought it was a mere toy, she decided to hide it, and said that the sound must have come from a box of equipment. Kaga suggested they look for it, but when they left, the face of a mosquito came back, seeing Shiki through invisibility. Shortly before she could attack, Mihai's car electrocuted her, making her faint. But when Mihai tried to tell Shiki to leave, he found that the boy was in panic. Thinking he must have gone through some trauma, Mihai thought his rationality and caution were just a facade to hide him, and realized that it would be worth playing with Shiki. At the same time, Komi and Aitara ran to him, but as Mihai told them he accidentally alerted the enemies, they soon found one of the girls. In the hallway, Shiki was still afraid to move, but as soon as the mosquito girl managed to get up, Shiki wanted someone to save him. Meanwhile, Komi had already defeated the other girl and dragged her by the hair. So, when he told Shiki that they were going towards him, he said he would be very lonely. Realizing his opportunity, Mihai began to tell him that Komi had a lot of money, and asked himself what Komi would think. He found out that he was no more than a loser. But Shiki was angry and damaged his toy. But realizing he could move again, he managed to dodge her attack. But thinking he was trying to escape, she increased her sensitivity and began to look for him. Meanwhile, Mihai was watching everything in the office, and as soon as he discovered Shiki's plan, the mosquito girl began to smell him everywhere. However, when she tried to attack him randomly, she got stuck in his webs, and Shiki revealed that he was on the roof all the time. So, when he fell on her eyes, knocking her out, he soon collapsed with exhaustion. It was then that he remembered that Atara once told him that he had discovered something about his parents, and although he had refused to listen, saying that the past didn't matter, he wondered if he was ready for that conversation. At that moment, Komi and Akira arrived, and they said he was impressive. He immediately stuttered. When Akira wondered what the next plan should be, Kobani suggested that they end. So, as Shiki agreed, the last of the girls arrived. Her name was Nika, and when she called the two of them out of shame, she apologized for them and suggested that they let everything go as a secret because it was the only way to leave them alive. However, Kobani said that they wouldn't leave even if her face was uglier than the shape of her butt, and that it would prevent her for her own good. Thinking there was no chance, Kaga tried to tell Nika that Kobani was stronger. The void began to suck the brain of the other girl, draining her vital force. When she began to suck Kaga, her combined fluids turned her into a winged mosquito, and she said she wouldn't let her ruin her precious palm tree. As she advanced, she deviated from Shiki's wires and grabbed Kobani before he reached his vital points. His attempts to get her away with kicks failed. He realized he was stronger, but she stabbed him in the heart. Shiki, desperate to save him, advanced, but she knocked him down. However, when Akira tried to release his ice powers, realized he needed water, but the mosquito put him to sleep. With Kobani being the only child, he thought Nika would end up with Shiki, and Akira would beat him, but when he tried to resist, her grip broke his bones. Realizing he was doing everything wrong, Mihai decided to tell him that the reason he wasn't strong enough to dominate her was because he was only using his human strength. By instructing him to use the strength of the kimono, him to use his instincts to find out what was most important. When Kobani realized it was to defeat her and save his friends, he discovered that his instinct was his heart. At that moment, he awakened his innate powers, healing his broken hand and dominating Nika. Before she noticed, he tore her arms off. But while the ugly chair wondered how he did it, Kobani realized it was the same power he felt when Shiro took his vital stone. He was about to tear her legs off, and Terra ordered him to stop and asked him to come back with the others. Explaining that they were hired only to investigate, he said Inari would take care of the rest. But at that moment, a scary child arrived. He introduced himself as Haru and said he worked for Inari, but when he asked Kobani to move away, he marked her body with small lights before stabbing her fingers and setting it on fire. With the girl reduced to ashes, Haru explained that they couldn't leave evidence and consumed the other girls. However, when Kobani was leaving, Haru told him that Inari did give up his life stone and revealed that he had been spying on him. When he warned him to be careful, he said he would only be safe if he gave up his life stone in a good way. But when Kobani questioned the revelation, Haru said he hated Inari. A few days later at the office, Shiki decided to ask Utama tried to reveal about his parents and said he was now ready to know. Next week, they started going to his city and congratulated him, but Shiki thought they wouldn't see their parents. However, he decided to explain that he lived with his uncle before going to Yatara, and that he even lived with his mother when he was younger. After they arrived in the city, Yatara told the children to wait in a store. While they were inside, Kobani found the legend of Nishikigoi. Upon deciding to read the book, he discovered that it was the story of a spider golden webs, but Shiki thought he had never heard a worse story. At that moment, he noticed a girl looking at him, but when she ran away, wondered how a girl could face her miserable face for more than a second. Shortly after, Yatara arrived with Shiki's uncle, and the weird idiot said it had been a long time. Minutes later, sitting by the stream, the ugly idiot introduced himself as Haku and said he was Shiki's uncle. Realizing that they wanted to know what happened to Shiki's mother, Haku decided how he met her, saying they found her researching the folklore of Kinshigo. However, when he was going to reveal the rest, Yatara suggested privacy, but in less than an hour, Shiki found them in the store. When Akira asked him about his parents, Shiki revealed dead, but when he started to say that he expected to hear that, he remembered that Haku told him that his mother died at the age of, and that her trauma was caused by the sight of her body lifeless. Shiki thought that this was all the closure he needed, but when he thanked Yatara for bringing him there, Kobayashi thought he was just pretending to be okay. At night, while watching the lanterns, Shiki began to observe a haunted tree. Realizing that he had seen it before, he remembered a memory of his childhood. As he began to run through the forest, following his memories, Kobayashi tried to follow him. He remembered that his mother always told him to wait for her to come back from work. He followed her to a hut, and when he opened the door, the scene horrified him. When he got to that same place, he was sure that his trauma was not from seeing his mother die. He discovered that a series of strange experiments were being done on her, but when Kobayashi arrived with Haru, they found that the hut was empty. Finding a deteriorated syringe, Haru revealed a kimono incident that there was something called healing silk, and which was woven into human organs. He had learned that a human was responsible for creating it, but said Inari suppressed it and put the man responsible for it on his blacklist. Meanwhile, Ayatara decided to visit his house and asked to talk to him for a moment. At the same time, Haru revealed that the man on Inari's blacklist was Haku, tried to use the power of the kimono to gain fame and fortune for himself. Haku tried to sell healing silk market and thought that everything was created in this laboratory. So, remembering what he saw that day, Shiki remembered that someone knocked him out. When he woke up, Haku told him that his mother was seriously injured from an accident and that he needed to stay away from her for a while. But Shiki was so stunned to realize his lies. He ended up concluding that she was dead and stopped asking about her, believed in the words of his lying uncle. He wished he had trusted that his mother would never abandon him. He realized that he needed to make his rotten uncle pay. So, when Haru asked if he intended to eliminate him, Shiki said yes, she would when he asked Kobin said no, and Shiki was disappointed by her not even trying. Meanwhile, Haku and Utaro were still walking, but when Utaro asked about the golden that they never sold any, Haku wondered if he was stuck in his path. When Utaro revealed to be another, he realized that Haku was the bastard as always, but wanted to know more about the forbidden golden web. Haku said that he and his brother discovered that the legend of Nishikiguma was pushed his brother into a cliff, wanting to make Shiki's mother his golden web factory. So, after she decided to stay in the human world to take care of her son, he used her spider powers to make money, promising a good life in return. However, all experiments failed, and after Shiki found the test site, he decided to move away from it until his memories got mixed up. Eventually, Shiki's mother lost her life, but Haku was delighted to have made a breakthrough after so many failed attempts. He called it his miraculous golden web, and as he was sure it had been perfected, it would cure diseases and wounds in the world, but he fell into Utaro's trap. As soon as he revealed that he recorded every word he said, silk threads pulled him Shiki up. Having arrived with his friends, he said he would make his death quick, while the madman began to say that he was misunderstood and that he was only trying to support his mother. Shiki tightened the tie, telling him to shut up. However, Akira soon appeared, demanding to know why they abandoned him. That he told 3 times because he was afraid and said he was completely soaked. But Utaro realized that this idiot was the most useless he had ever been. Emerged from the bushes, but Utaro shot it, managed to stop it again. When another monster exploding it, Utaro realized that he couldn't get the gun out again, but he pulled them to the bushes. At that moment, Shiki realized that they were surrounded, but when Kobayashi wondered living in the forest, Haru revealed that they were actually Shiki's brothers, while Haku began to explain that they were his brothers and sisters born during one of the monsters broke the silk, knocking Haku to the ground. While Haku continued to explain that they were not the golden web, he said they still had some intelligence and had learned the words of his mother Kumi. At that moment, they began to call Shiki's name, saying that they loved him, realized that they had the same voice as his mother. His memories of her made him faint. When he began to cry, Kobayashi decided to ask what he wanted him to do, help, but so when a beast attacked them, Kobayashi pushed her against a tree. Meanwhile, Utaro and Akira had been cornered by another group of the poison from spreading more through the body. He asked Akira to freeze his arm. However, she almost froze his face too, but when the girl appeared, then she ordered the monsters not to girl who she was. She told him to follow her if she wanted to heal her arm. Attacked Kobayashi, but he crushed and began to say that Haku was the one he really wanted. With Haku beginning to feel afraid, he wondered what Kobayashi wanted from him. Then Kobayashi said he wanted to end his useless life. Calling for Shiki, a bigger monster appeared as he deviated from the attack, hit a blow right in the eye. Haru was surrounded by more monsters. When he asked for help, Kobayashi ordered him to turn around. The idiot stabbed his fingers to consume them. With Shiki already sick, he asked Kobayashi to destroy all the monsters. Thus, when they began to attack, Kobayashi flew to eliminate them. Meanwhile, Yutaro, Kira and the girl, Aya, had arrived at a spring. When Aya told Yutaro to put his hand in water, he did it and noticed that his hand was healed. Aya explained that the fountain had a detoxifying effect, revealing Kemono that it even said he needed to ask Haku a question before he was sent to Nirvana. On the other side of the forest, Kobayashi had eliminated all the strange beasts. So, when he regenerated his arm, he threw the loser away. With nothing to protect him, Kobayashi told Shiki that they could kill him now, but Shiki apologized for making his hands dirty. Hearing his mother's voice in the monsters, Shiki realized that killing Haku would bring his family back, and said that his only wish was to see his mother again. Aya appeared, but when Haku began to demand what she was doing there, the girl told him to shut up. But when Haku continued to scream for her to leave, Shiki wondered why that crazy man was so frantic. However, Aya was not moved by this, so when she called, she demanded to know where his loser was. Wanting to continue being an idiot until the end, Haku said he would never reveal him. Began to wonder who the girl was. I said he still couldn't reveal his identity. Yutaro offered to track down loser, saying he had been keeping an eye on Haku for some time. When calling Mihai, Yutaro asked him to check suspicious positions, but Mihai already knew what he wanted and said to check on the loser in a cabbage field. When he found out where he was, Aya ran there, realizing that the water from the spring was detoxifying. When entering the water, Shiki prevented her, saying she began to look for the cabbage. But when he found his mother trapped under the water, a beast shark began to lurk behind him. Soon, the surface of the water was stained with blood, but when the beast emerged and Taro appeared on the outside, revealing that his mother was still alive. Later that night, I revealed who she was and said she was the Golden Tea. But when and the other children arrived, they realized that Kumi was still alive. When the rotten face began to say that he had intentionally preserved her, he intended to continue using her to produce more monsters, but Shiki silenced to save his mother. He told Yutaro that he wanted to take her to a safer place, and began to pull Aya along. After they got to the car, they realized that Haru disappeared, but Yutaro suggested that they return to Tokyo. When they arrived at a clinic, Yutaro revealed that there must be a reason for Kumi not to wake up, and that it would be better to consult a specialist. Then, when they entered, he announced that they had a case of Kemono, an old lady, and broke to examine the body. Her name was Ohana, and when they began, but said she would prepare an realizing how ugly she was for her. Kira decided to ask Ohana if she was a human veterinarian who began to treat Kemono while helping other animals. That same night, with everyone sleeping, Aya waited outside the room, not to see her mother. She had. However, Shiki felt her presence when she was leaving, that she was worried about her mother. And finding that normal, Aya asked if he hated her. She saw herself as a bad seed to be exterminated, and wondered why they other monsters. But Shiki told him that she kept their mother alive. Near her, he thought he did nothing useful for the mother, and said he was happy. Met her. His words made her cry. She asked if she could call him brother. But while Shiki was still giggling, Kumi opened her eyes. Recognizing, she said she was happy to see them well, but I began to cry. A few days later, at the office, while Yutaro and the children said he had a job for them, but they were disappointed because Shiki's place was empty. They remembered that he had said he would stay with the family for a week to rethink things, but they thought he intended to stop being a kimonoist. However, when he appeared, wondering why two sick losers appeared, he said he only stayed because things hadn't been resolved. So, remembering the promise, he told Kobni that he wouldn't give up until he helped him find his parents. At that moment, I entered the office as a Broadway model, but how when she transformed so quickly, Shiki said he was taking care of her that day. Aya, telling Yutaro that she would work with Hana at the clinic, revealed that she would open her kemonopathy clinic with the power of her silk. With Yutaro agreeing, Shiki began to call it a clock bomb, but when he tried to ask Komi for help, Komi told him to get a life. Hearing this, Aya found Kobni incredible. Remembered how he alone eliminated the monsters. She asked if he had a girlfriend and asked him to take her out. When Kobni agreed to go out with her, Shiki passed out from betrayal. But when Kon invaded and tried to challenge Kobni to another fight, she began to face the girl. A few minutes later, Yutaru explained the mission, revealing that girls' faces were being torn by a furious Kemono. But when the weak Akira passed out, I decided to take command. However, when she asked Kobni to go alone, Kon realized that the girl was trying to get in the way and offered to follow her. After they arrived at Harajuku Station, Aya continued to be led. But when a police officer warned them to return, it was worth finding your chance to impress Kobni. So, when offering to solve it, she reminded him that she was subordinate to Inari and said that police officers were her servants. Aya. 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 However, as they moved away, an invisible entity pulled Aya by the hair. When Komi asked where she was, he decided to punch her. Luckily, he hit her in the face and caught Aya. But when Kon arrived, the Kemono decided to reveal himself. When Komi asked why he was attacking people, he revealed that he wanted to be more and said he wanted to approach the mannequin on the other side of the street. However, his repugnant form left him jealous of the girls and attacked them. When Kon realized that he felt exactly the same, angry and began to blame Aya for meddling between her and Before Kobni. He could devour her, Kobni used his arm as a shield. But when the fool realized that Aya was taking the chance, he decided to run away. That night, after Kobni and Aya returned to the office, Aya revealed and explained that she covered the kimono with her silk to make her look human. However, that night, Kobni went to see Kon in the tree and shook her until she fell. But when he noticed that she was crying, he prevented her from going up again. So when she started to say that he should hate her for wanting to eat the pearl, Kobni explained that she was Shiki's little sister. However, Kon didn't care about her and felt a sense of death in his heart. But the touch of his hand made her feel better. She asked how to be his number one, but he revealed that he didn't know. Even so, he asked him to comfort her as he always did. The next day, Aya came back, saying that she wanted to spend the day with her boyfriend. But when Kon arrived, they faced each other again and Kon called her ugly pearl. Afraid of a fight, Akira told Kobni to choose one of, explaining that he could only love one person. So, while Kobni decided to choose Inugami-san, the following week in the city, a guy knocked down a loser. But after he stopped, they cornered him in an alley, demanding 300 rias for the laundry service. However, the guy decided to ask if he knew Yotaro and showed a bad drawing. But when they said no, he turned one of them into ice. Meanwhile, at the office, Akira freaked out when he saw his stuffed toy torn. But with Shikimau paying attention, he told Kobni that the idiot boy gave the doll the name of his brother because his face was the same as his. Thinking of a solution, Gyotaro suggested that they ask Mihai to fix it since he had free time. A few hours later, when Mihai finished, he had installed an IA, and Akira thought it was amazing. But when he wondered how his stuffed toy opened mysteriously, he thought it had to do with his brother, because when they were little, they shared a very special bond, with Akira always being a crybaby. They were never allowed to leave the village because they were the Yuki Onoko, the twins born every 100 years, and they couldn't even see their parents since they were born. Yotaro told the children to separate the remains from the companion of the Sandman who died on the beach. But when Shiki wondered how they would separate sand from the other, Yotaro told him to use his brain. When the boys tried to understand, Akira tripped and fell in the bags. Throughout that day, he kept breaking things and ruining everything he touched. So when Shiki reached his limit, he started yelling at him for being useless and told him to stop being a weak and unwanted burden. However, when Kobni tried to be nicer, he told Akira that he was more useless than anyone he had ever met. And not only being useless, he thought Akira was a failure and told him not to even bother. Having heard enough, decided to leave, and after leaving a letter of resignation, decided to take the road. However, not knowing where to go, he realized that he was broke, but when a guy passed by, Akira noticed that it was his brother, Yui. Years ago, they found abandoned human belongings and dreamed of going to Tokyo. So, when Akira thought the dream was coming true, he wondered where they were going. At the office, Kobni and Shiki had already split up, but when Yotaro showed Akira's letter to Kobni, he asked if she thought Akira was useless. When Kobni said yes, he thought there was no problem in the boy being a loser. Yotaro realized that they needed to have a chance to solve things on their own. In a short time, Shiki got bored and thought about what to do for fun, but Kobni couldn't think of anything. Meanwhile, Akira and Yui had already left the city, but when Akira started to live in an ice castle, Yui invoked one in a moment. In there, Akira realized that it was almost everything he wanted, but when he tried social media, Yui froze him right away, saying Akira's heart broken. He soon noticed Yui's furious look, and as it made him shut up, Yui locked him up. At the office, Shiki had burned the dinner, so when he went out to buy another one, Kobni realized they needed Akira's kitchen. After he returned to the office, he decided to tell Shiki that Akira was not useless, but that he actually served for something. So when Shiki realized it was true, he admitted that he had gone too far, but wondering how they could find Akira, Yotaro found the ice castle on the web. When they arrived at the place, they found a group of people and reporters, warning everyone to stay away from the castle. Yotaro shot him before he could attack them. As soon as everyone fled, Yui realized it was Yotaro, but when he discovered his ice powers, he noticed the stone in his heart. When Kobani realized it looked exactly like his life stone, Yotaro revealed that it was actually the power had been incorporated into it, was created to destroy and revive an arid and devastated land. When Yotaro asked himself what must have happened to his, Yui told him to stick his question in the back. But he thanked him for taking care of Akira. At that moment, they noticed that he was Akira's brother. But Yui released a blizzard and wanted to know who they were to Akira. They were his friends, and that they wanted to take him home because he ran away. Inside the castle, Akira's plushie projected chats from the web, and he was excited that his photo went viral. But when he asked himself why his brother was cold, the plushie explained in the vital signs and that the heart temperature was very low, which mentally disturbed him. Yui appeared and called him down, but when Akira arrived, he found his friends frozen in the ice. While he was in shock, Yui began to say that they were all he wanted, explained that they came here to get him, but said he wouldn't let him leave. While Akira was in shock, Yui began to think that he was sick, so offered to look for a straw in the forest and locked him in there. With Akira alone, he began to think that his friends were dead, but the plushie said they were still alive, so Akira remembered that Kobani couldn't be dead. When he began to think that they would die if they were frozen, the clown asked himself how to melt them. At the same time, Yui was looking for mint in the forest but remembered what happened years ago. Because after he became the chief of the snowy village, he spent the days Akira wondering was not chosen in his place but would never tell his brother what happened. Since he became the chief, he learned everything about the village, including the null stone, and surrounded the village with a snowstorm that protected them from humans. More than 200 women dominated the village, without male support and competing in individual strength. However, they soon began to break taboos, revealing their faces with curses of their corruption and drowning him in mutual hatred and animosity. The warmth and kindness of his brother managed to pull him back every time. Even after returning to the ice castle and Akira saying he needed not hesitate to go out again to look for it, but Akira wondered what really happened to him. He thought only he could stop him and save his friends, but Inari and Haru had arrived outside. They were impressed by the power of the null stone, knowing that it fed on life, but Inari wondered where Yui was. Inside the ice castle, Akira thought about how to thaw his friends, but the stuffed toy said he was too useless to melt the ice. At that moment, the ice began to melt, and while he was shaking, his upper half came out rolling. However, he soon regenerated, but when explaining the power of the stone, Akira realized that she was responsible for Yui's immense power. When Komi began to say that he needed to beat him, Akira noticed intended to fight his brother and feared that this would only end in disaster. But when Komi apologized for calling him useless and was important to them, he asked him to return to the office. However, Akira decided to retreat and began to say that he had to deal with them while shooting the stuffed toy. Thinking that he was just pretending, Komi began to wonder why he was lying, but Akira told him that he always felt that way and that he hated him. At that moment, Yui arrived, but Akira covered Komi before attacking, told Yui not to call her friends anymore, suggesting they leave the castle. However, while walking through the forest, Akira waited for Komi to solve everything. At the same time in the castle, the stuffed toy explained Akira's plan to Yotaro, so after insult, he stuck the stuffed toy between them to generate heat. As soon as he got distracted, Inari appeared in front of him, but while he wondered, she said she was behind the null stone and asked if he would help her. In the forest, Yui and Akira were moving away, remembered the time they walked around the village together. Akira had asked if his duty as a boss was difficult, always feeling gloomy. The only stupid thing he knew how to do, which was to smile. He thought that Akira would be forced to be a boss as soon as the women found out he was a man, and that they would all compete to receive his seed. So he decided to summon them all and asked them to allow Akira to leave the village in exchange for fulfilling. Yui told Akira to go south and find Yotaro in Tokyo, intended to kill his brother him to decide the leader, but when they tried to contain him, Yui managed to escape. In the forest, he felt someone approaching, so he covered Akira with ice crystals, turning them into a cage, but Haru appeared in the tree. Desperate to get rid of him, Yui attacked him with ice, grabbing his foot as he jumped, but Haru melted him, turning him into a fox. In the ice castle, Inari explained that the null stone was like the stone of life, and that Kobain could know more about the fathers if he got thinking it was another of his useless tricks, Yotaro ordered him to continue. With the man still frozen, Kobain asked how he could speak, so the doll explained that it was transmitting his message based on the tone of the heart and brain waves. While Yotaro convinced Kobain that Inari would not attack them, he asked him to save Akira, so Kobain ran away. Back in the forest, Haru ran through the bushes, but when he summoned half a dozen crystals to eliminate them before releasing another set of crystals on the others, Haru continued to run through the mist, and as soon as he realized Yui was distracted, he tried to steal the null stone, but she bit his hand. Realizing what he wanted, Yui said that the stone would not serve him, but in hiding, Haru thought that Inari sent him, intentionally to recover it, even knowing the danger. Considering it impossible to recover the stone, Haru decided to take Yui's entire body. As soon as Yui threw ice crystals, one almost hit him, but Kobain kicked him away. However, he apologized for this and offered help, but as Haru warned him frozen if he got too close, he revealed that he needed to knock Yui out. At the same time, Akira tried to force the exit, but when he saw flames in the mist, Kobain almost hit Yui. So, while the fire in his body melted the ice, Yui realized that he was burning intentionally, but when Kobain began to dominate him, he released his ice powers. At that moment, an ice armor spread throughout his body, so when Kobain attacked this time, he defended him easily, but Akira was crying in the cage. However, realizing that the mist was denser, he decided to solidify it in a giant snowflake, letting it fall on the cage. Meanwhile, Yui and Kobain were still facing each other. Their flames were extinguished. He asked Haru to increase them. However, Haru warned him that his body would disintegrate and that this would weaken him, but Kobain said he would hold out for a few seconds. Accepting the challenge, Haru covered him with immense fire. Then Kobain, with adrenaline, advanced and hit him with attacks that melted the ice, deflecting double blows. Before he could attack again, his body began to disintegrate, but Akira prevented him, seeing the rest of his body fall to pieces. As soon as Yui demanded to know why he was out, the null stone released ice crystals. He revealed that Yui had run out of energy and said that he would mutilate if the stone was began to regenerate. And while he said he would die without asking about the null stone, Akira began to try to pull her. As soon as his ice powers activated, he began to see Yui's memories and saw himself running up the mountain, which created the huge blizzard that swept the entire village. Deciding to support Akira, Cobain vomited his life stone, and when a ray of colorful lights shone through the forest, but the ice castle collapsed. When Cobain realized that the stones had melted, Inari appeared to claim and revealed that the life stone neutralized the power of the null stone. As soon as Haru realized that they should have anticipated this result, Yataru told her that the stone belonged to Cobain and asked her to return it. Without any other choice, she decided to hand over the stone, but as soon as Haru began, Cobain asked him to stay with them, saying that Aya could heal his hand. He refused the offer, saying would accept it as punishment for his imprudence. Later that night at the clinic, Akira found Cobain outside Yui's room and decided that he hated him. He feared that everyone would be killed if he didn't. That he actually loved him. They started to move in circles. A few minutes later, Yui began to reveal that he destroyed, but said that he lost control of the stone. When Cobain decided to ask what he knew about the null stone, saying that he was looking for his, the null stone had existed in the snow village for 1,000 years. If he had ever heard of the kimono incidents, Cobain said no. Then Yataru revealed that it was the war between humans. Everything had happened 1,000 years ago, but as part of the lesson, Yataru revealed that the kimono decided to rectify the way which was the turning point that allowed them to live among themselves. Thought that the kimono stones were created to avoid conflicts with humans and that the most powerful kimono would fill them with power. Waiting for more answers, Yataru suggested that they look for other kimonos, as there could be clues as to how their parents got the stone. Meanwhile, Inari was still desperate for Cobain's stone. So, by telling Haru that he hadn't given up, she explained that she needed to get it in a way that Yataru couldn't answer. That same night, Haru decided to meet Kon and told her that would forgive her if she managed to get Cobain to hand over his stone. The next day, when Yataru and Cobain were about to make a trip in search of another of the kimono stones, Shiki offered to stay. However, shortly before they left, Kon appeared and said he wanted to accompany them on the trip. When Cobain asked how she knew, Yataru thought Inari would send them spy on them, but the silly girl tried to convince them that it wasn't true. Deciding to get into the game, Yataru agreed that she would follow them. When they told Cobain that they would finally start looking for his parents, they left together. See you in the next video. Until next time, my legendary masters of plots.